Marvel is facing so many flops in 2025 it would be enough to stop a normal studio. But what is the MCU to do in order to save itself with audiences? Today, folks, we'll tell you the one and only shining light that might make 2025 a little bit more all right for Kevin Feige. It is Daredevil. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Pro Channel, where we, as ever, endeavor to explain entertainment. Keep you ahead of the culture curve. It is what we do. And by the way, folks, if you like this sort of content, consider going over to the Patreon. It's www.patreon.com/WDW Pro, where we have even more information about what's happening in entertainment. Without further ado, let's talk about the Daredevil trailer and whether or not this is a turning point for the MCU. This out of the Critical Drinker. Okay, you've got my attention. Don't screw it up now. Now let's remember that Marvel in 2025, they're saddled with Thunderdolts, Captain America 4, which, by the way, might lose more than any movie ever before. Yeah, we're rhyming again, Jonas. Check out the timing. And Marvel also has the not-so-fantastic 4 with the Silver Surfette. So Marvel is headed for a very rough 2025, we believe. And here's this, the Daredevil trailer. And Critical Drinker, who we admire and love his channel, says, you've got my attention. Well, Marvel, you have ours as well. It says, it's not entirely unpleasant seeing you again. Marvel Television's all-new series, #Daredevil Born Again, premieres March 4th at 6 p.m., only on Disney+. And I gotta say, this might be a very good palate cleanser for the fallout of Captain America 4. We'll watch the trailer together, folks. We'll get the panel to weigh in. Here is what Disney released.
Thank you for finding the time. I will admit, it's not entirely unpleasant seeing you again. The mayor serves his city. Why did you stop being a vigilante? The line was crossed.
Let's pause there before we continue on any more. Panel, this is a serious departure from what we've been seeing from Marvel. This is no The Marvels. This is not what we've been watching with She-Hulk. There's a distinctly different tone. Do you think it will be successful, or do you think that Marvel and the superhero genre have actually soaked up and lost all the enthusiasm that was behind them and in their sales?
I would say, contrasted with what we saw in Hawkeye, this looks to be much more in line with the Daredevil series that was, that originated on Netflix. It looks gritty. It looks like that dark origin of Daredevil that we're used to seeing, and that Disney, or we'll say quote unquote Marvel, is willing to go there. Because what's been happening with the other superhero Marvel and Disney Plus shows that we've seen from Marvel, they've been very saccharine, very, in some kind of area where they're not willing to go into those dark places that are heroes and villains that we know in Marvel where they live. And it looks like they're doing it with this show. So I'm really liking that confrontation. Well, because it is a confrontation, whether you want to believe it or not. They're in that restaurant, right? In that diner that you see. So it looks promising. I'm going to check it out. If Marvel screws this up, they really, really are done. Because this could be the thing that shows that they're actually trying to make a turn into giving us a Marvel show that's actually worth watching.
Very well said. And Jonas, one of the things that we have to note as the tonal shift is that this appears to be back in a world that we can recognize and we understand. A lot of the most recent Marvel stuff has been in these kind of wacky alien landscapes, and you have a hard time identifying with that. This seems to be stepping back into the phase 1, phase 2 kind of tension. What do you make of it?
It's funny, when Iron Man came out in 2008, it was actually praised as being a grounded and realistic take on Iron Man. And that was kind of where superhero movies were. And then they had to change the context with movies like Thor in Captain America, to try to get it to where you would acknowledge not just they had some throwaway line about magic is science you don't yet understand, or something like that. But that doesn't explain why the magic space hammer can only be lifted by the guy that Odin likes. So,
well, they had never heard of Agatha at that point, huh?
Right, and Agatha is problems for different reasons, or the complete plot holes that are in the Marvels. But when you look at this, I don't actually see MCU at all. When I see this, I see Marvel.
I see DC kind of.
Yes, I can see a little bit of that, but my best touch point for DC on television right now is Gotham, which was a little bit more on that goofy side. This is even more grounded than that. Looking at this and how well constructed the shots are, that fade between the graffiti there, when the two of them are sitting at the table, it's a very well blocked, for lack of a better word, shot here, where they're supposed to be equals, but you can see that the Kingpin is kind of impinging on his space a little bit there, and the Kingpin looks like at any moment he might go ahead and grab his head and slam it into the table. There's so much here that is great on subtext, which is something that has been missing. Like, I tried to describe the problems with Echo to someone who had zero context on the MCU, and I was like, well, she's a Choctaw, deaf, disabled ninja with superpowers, and this person who
she swings her colonoscopy bag for virtue.
Right, and to go through all of this, you could see the people who were not aware of this kind of just starting to chuckle as they realized that I wasn't just saying I have a problem with the DEI because I don't like the blah blah blahs here. Like, they were like, oh, okay, so that's where the MCU is right now.
All right, well, let's watch a little bit more of this, and then I want to come back to Vash and the culture. And in particular, one of the things I'm wondering is, if we have in the last year the only real Marvel success, Deadpool and Wolverine, everything else a terrible failure. And if in 2025 we have Daredevil potentially as a success, we'll find out in 2 months, and everything else is an abysmal failure, what is going to be the trajectory of Marvel going forward?
Because it follows the Marvel Netflix series, that being like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Punisher, all that, it kind of has to be more in line with those series, I think, in order to get people on board this new era of Daredevil and maybe other successive shows that follow it. So, yeah, I think it is kind of one of those things that slipped through the cracks. Now, obviously, they have responded to a lot of the criticisms from those previous shows, right? To echo Jonas's sentiments about Echo. Not a lot of great action there, not a lot of great choreography. Here it's like, here's the violence that you have seen from those previous Marvel Netflix series, and that's why they keep hitting on the violence over and over and over again, because they understand, look, that Disney Plus watermark is in the corner of this trailer. We have to set this apart from the Disney Plus experiences that you've seen thus far, right? So it's all about establishing that tone, the color grading, the shots, the cinematography. It's all about establishing we're going back to this grittier and more, like you said, grounded universe that these Marvel Netflix shows were a part of. And they make that very, very clear, not only with what's depicted, but how they are depicting it. It's interesting what's depicted. You know, the Daredevil mask falling and with the missing horn, it, has the shape of a D. That was very clever in there. But it really is all about, like, okay, look, we understand that you like those Marvel Netflix shows. We understand that we haven't necessarily treated the Daredevil characters with much reverence. Here's a return to form on this. So yes, they're definitely, these things don't happen in a vacuum, but I think it's more about, hey, let's get people back on board for this specifically.
Well, I think they got me back on board with this trailer. Sorry. I apologize.
I think one that I will bring up, which is the one thing that sucked me into the original Daredevil series on Netflix, is the fact that Charlie Cox, he is a devout Catholic. And you heard that line in the trailer where, I was raised to believe in grace, but at the same time, also raised to believe in retribution. And that is that fine line between we're supposed to offer grace, but there comes a time when certain things are so egregious they can't be ignored. So there was always that struggle going on with him. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting that they dropped that in there. So let's see if they show that same, conflict that goes on with Charlie Cox with that. Let's see if they do that in here. So again, I'm not 100% sold, but the trailer does its job. The trailer does its job in making me actually want to open up Disney Plus and watch it when it.
Very well said. Culture, is this a turnaround point or an exception to the rule?
I think it. Well, first of all, I'm going to start with an exception to the rule. Could be a turnaround point. I could say this. I felt the shins break on that poor guy there in the alleyway. I felt it. I every time I've seen it now, I've seen this about 5 or 6 times. I've been in super cringe mode. I'm like, ooh, and that's how visceral these shows have to be. This looks like a proper, as Lorena was alluding to, a proper return to Hell's Kitchen. This is what this is supposed to be, whether it be the comic books or the original Netflix series. I'm going to tell you right now, this feels very Netflix in a way that Disney has never done before. And it seems like they've been able to get rid of a lot of the reasons that any Disney Plus show has been hampered with this one. And as I said this morning when I talked about this before, they got rid of 3 full episodes, threw them in the trash, put them in the shredder, hid them away from all of us because they didn't want anybody to realize just how compromised the path was that they'd gone down originally with their reboot of the show. The fact that they went out and they got what the fans wanted, with the exception of one, the characters are back. The people that you love and know from the Netflix series are there. And the nature of this, as gritty as it is, just it feels like a return to form for this show. Is it a return to form for Marvel? No. No. Yeah, we're getting a lot of Marvel garbage. There's the words. From the cinema this year. 3 offerings that I am very not excited to see. This actually reinvigorated some excitement, like Lorena said. So I although I'm a little more sold on this, because if they got this right and they got the trailer right and they got everything that I've talked about before about this, I think this show could be a reason to have Disney Plus. It's the only reason that you may want to have.
Well, I'm still salty about She-Hulk because I actually sat through and watched that darn abomination.
Me too.
I am sorry, Lorena. I am very sorry.
Reasons that She-Hulk should have been a good show. The thing that I love about these classic Marvel characters here is just the poetry of the blind lawyer. Like, okay, yeah, Justice is blind. You have a blind lawyer. Or the fact that he's Daredevil, but he's Catholic, and he's the Daredevil of Hell's Kitchen. Like, there's so much about this that is just so perfect and so great, and that he's fighting for justice, but he's also the vigilante fighting for justice, even though he represents the law in some way. There's just so much to work with, to chew on with a character like Daredevil, with Kingpin trying to run the city in the way he sees fit, Punisher coming in and saying you're not the right kind of vigilante. There's so many levels that they can attack this character. And then you've got his surrounding characters that are not superheroes, which is something that a lot of these movies mess up and a lot of the TV shows mess up, because it seems like with the television versions of these that it eventually, like, I think by the end of The Flash, there might have only been one person left in the city to save because everyone was a superhero on that show. I'm looking forward to what they do with this, if it's like the original Netflix series, specifically the first couple of seasons of it. If they bring back Elektra from the series, I might be out though. That didn't go over very well for me.
Well, guys and gals, we better be careful because we've got a reputation to hang on to, and we have reviewed Wicked well. We have reviewed Sonic 2 well. Despite nobody watching Skeleton Crew, we reviewed it well. And now we're saying that we're kind of excited a little bit about Daredevil. Good Lord, it's almost like we're unbiased and actually just the arbiters of what's going on in the mainstream middle. Sensible Center. Look out, folks. Look out. And folks, we have come to the end yet again. Another video of excellence in the can. What a joy it has been to share time with you. We hope you enjoyed it as well. If so, consider clicking that like button. Share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. And as always, drop a comment down below. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, so waste not yours. Join a community dialogue today, just on down below. Folks, we are going to say farewell for now, but we will see you back for is more, and that's how many videos we put out every single day here on the Pro Channel. Hope you enjoy them all. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.